Yeah, I'm a bit stuck, Jenkins. I'm thinking of a title for the new video. You know, something to grab the attention. We've been working on the clutch. I was thinking of sort of clutching at straws. Yeah, you know, like that. Or Papa's got a brand new clutch bag. Yeah, a bit before your time. Yeah. What's that? You've got an itchy clutch. Yeah, I suppose that. Oh, you really have got an itchy clutch. It's all right, Jenkins. Got powder for that. Yeah, put that there. Might need it later. Hello, welcome to Tweed's Garage. In this video, we're working on the Scott again. I know. It's sort of like, what, 5 in a row? It's like a series. I mean, we'd be competing with Coronation Street the way we're going. But anyway, yeah, so we've been digging into the, still waiting for fork tubes. That's all right, that's fine. They're being made in a batch, so to sort of keep the costs down, which is all good, save a few pennies. Yeah, so we've been digging into the gearbox and clutch. Well, the clutch, because I can get to the clutch. Gearbox is the other side. So I thought we'd sort of have a look at the clutch, see if we could sort this issue out with this clutch actuating rod or screw that was sticking out too far. Needed to check it, see what was going on. Yeah, so we sort of dive into that can of worms. Yeah, so we're going to have a look that way. Okay, let's disassemble this clutch. I think we'll take these out first. I think a lot of this stuff's been remade. So this was the one that was sticking out. Hopefully it's the same length as the others. Yep. I think he's made a tool up as well to do these up when they get done up. So I'll finish that off. I could have just connected the clutch cable and lever and tried it, but therein lies another story. The space for the clutch cable to run through is very tiny, and it's always in danger of either being rubbed to death on the flywheel or mashed by the driving chain or the magneto chain. I'll show you. Oh, here we go. There we go. And then hopefully, there we go. Yeah, it was worth taking it apart because that'll need cleaning up. Well, I'm glad I took it apart anyway. Yeah, they've all stuck together. I won't prise them apart. I'll try and sort of push them sideways so as not to risk damaging the friction material anymore. Yeah, look, those two have been replaced. Looks like sort of old pants and brass they've been replaced with. Ah, okay, and then yeah, that's the last one is the basket, and I can see the rollers lurking behind, but we need to take the drive chain off for that. Oh, they've got little holes at the end for little either cotter pins or wire locking on there as well. Didn't notice them before. I don't think they were down far enough. I think I've got some old ones of these. I'll check the dimensions. Anyway, does it need to come apart further than that? Oh yeah, I can hear the rollers. Now I'm not sure how you get lubrication down to there. There isn't any oil cups or anything behind. Ah, maybe it relies on, I know I've got, you can't see, but there's 2 outlets on the oil tank. I know the earlier Scotts had drippers which would drip down onto the drive chain and the primary chain, so I should suspect with all that oil being thrown around, some of it gets to the bearings behind the clutch, but I think we'll have to put some grease on there for now. But I need to take the drive chain off, or at least drop it down. You don't want to take it completely off because it's a nightmare trying to fish the chain back round the crankshaft. But unfortunately the split link isn't there at the moment. See if we can find the split link. Let the compression subside a bit. The chain can do with a clean as well. covered in crap and dust. Yeah, I see the split link, it's coming. There we go, can you see it? There. Right, see if we can get that off. Fairly easy, need a picky tool. There we go. Right, got a little tub down here to catch all the millions of bearings they go on about. Split this link. So loosen the gearbox just to slacken the chain off a bit. There's 2 nuts underneath. There we go. I think that's slackened it off a bit. That'll allow me to. I think the adjuster's loose anyway, but well. And I think the gearbox is at the end of its travel in a good way, so it's got plenty of adjustment to tighten up. But yeah, it's going to be fun putting the chain back on. Looks like a new chain. That's good. And of course I've got it where the link won't fall out. See if we can go back a bit. That's it. There's just a bit of a pin behind where the spring hook hooks onto. Okay. Just make sure we don't drop them. I think we'll be alright laying it on the deck down below. Yeah, and then that one can sit. If we leave it down there gently, it should stay on the engine sprocket. Fish it round with a wire and put it back on. Now, I bet you this doesn't bloody come out. Yeah, I think we need to loosen the gearbox right off. I'll see the rollers behind. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. That's fun. I think what I'll do is smear some grease on there before they do fall out. Because they do look like fun. Let me show you. There they are, all sitting round there. And they're not captive. So those rollers will drop out at the slightest provocation. So I'll get a generous dollop of grease and run it right round them to hopefully keep them in place. And this is what I meant by the clutch cable. It goes down there, you can see it down there. It's not in the gearbox housing. Hang on, let me find a pointy stick. Pointy.
A pointy birds, a pointy. Anoint my head. Anointy.
Yeah, so as you can see, the clutch cable's here. It should go into that slot. And then it comes out and along, but you've got the crank flywheel here, magneto chain here and down there, and then you've got, I've just dropped it off, but you've got the drive chain sits right next to it. So this sort of has to come out and curve upwards, and then there is it's sort of in the wrong place. There's a little lug on this tube, and you sort of spin it round, and it's normally wired onto the clutch cable to sort of keep it out of the way of the flywheel and up between the 2 chains. But some people have suggested that you run a longer clutch cable, you bring it in backwards, and then it's sort of a squeeze rather than a pull. So yeah, you make an adapter here so the outer shroud of the cable sits in here, and then the other end of the cable hooks on to the housing, and so it pulls this lever arm in towards the housing, and then you can bring the cable out the back of the bike, out here, up and round and that way, and then you don't have any chains or flywheels to worry about. So we may look at that as an option, because you know where it is now, in there, down there, is a blimmin' nightmare. Okay, so I'm slacking the gearbox off. That's quite good, because I wanted to you can't see it, but I want to take this adjuster out and clean all the thread up as well. So one job leads to another. There we go. Gives us a bit more clearance. Let's poke something underneath the gearbox so it doesn't drop back down again, and then hopefully we should be able to get that off. Can we get it out though? It's going to be a fiddle. Yeah, there we go. Yeah. Oh yeah, there's the back of the assembly. And there's the other side. They're all different levels. They are all different levels. None of them are the same height. Looks like they've all been cut with a hacksaw. I shall have to ask on the Facebook page about this. Looks like I might end up having to do a whole new load to go in there. But there's plenty on there, so I should imagine they wear themselves down eventually. There we go. Yeah, and that's that. And then there's this. Oh, this is a friction surface as well. So that needs a bit of a clean. I think those rollers come out. It looks like a brass ringy ding ding. Does it cap? No, they might actually be captured. It looks like it's got a brass cage around it. So the manuals I got are sort of 1930, so they may have improved things. But yeah, I think I'm going to have to take this nut off and get this back plate off as well. That needs a good clean. But yeah, that's crazy, isn't it? You've got this, you can't really see it. Now let's bring it around again. So you've got this bearing here that runs around and runs in the clutch basket. So you've got to get lubrication on it. But then this is one of your friction surfaces that needs to be oil free. Yeah. Oh well. It'll all come out in the wash, literally. So I've just sort of put the clutch back together after machining the plates down, just checking that I hadn't lost too much meat on them. But even now, I don't know if you can see from the previous photo, but now this outer plate sits nicely within the basket, whereas before it was sitting slightly proud. And also these nuts should go down below these studs, because there's a little hole in the end for a bit of wire locking wire to go through them, you know, to stop the nuts coming undone or disappearing. And before these were slightly proud of the studs, they weren't down far enough. Now I've done this one up down, it's just about relieving it, but I think we're sort of nearly fully compressed the spring there. So I think we could probably, the slightly thicker plates and any that are sort of can do a bit more turning, I might take a bit more off of them just to give us a bit more play in here, and try and get these nuts below the level of the studs where they should be, so then there's no chance of them catching on the inside of the sprocket either. Gives us clearance. So it's a bit of progress. I might face this outer plate off, because as you see the rust has poker marked it a bit. It's fairly thick, so casts, steel casting. And the other thing I want to do is these holes, I don't know if you can see, or it shows up on camera, they're really oval, like here. See if I can find something round to sort of, so you can compare it. So if I poke that in the middle there, that's where it sort of should be, and you can see how sort of oval they are and elongated. That one there, that one there. I think the original hole is about there, so you can see it's been flapping about, gradually getting worse, and there as well. So I think what I might do is warm this up a bit and MIG weld these up. I might MIG weld them up completely, and I can put it on the mill and use these holes to set my locations. So if I centre it, find these holes, and then do a sort of 6-hole round a circle program, I should be able to spot those back in where they should be, and sort of return it to original. Then once I've done that, I'll face this off as well, just in case we get a bit of distortion on it as well. So that should improve things a little bit. But yeah, progress on the clutch. I was a bit dubious about facing these little, I don't know what you call them. They're not, originally they would have been corks, or the original ones were corks, and then they've gone to a brake lining type material. I think these are older ones. These are, yeah, they're definitely asbestos, those ones. I think these are slightly more modern material that somebody's popped in there. I don't know if they've glued them in there, but they all sort of had hacksaw cuts on them, and they are all sort of, you know, different heights, and I think there was way too much material in these, causing this clutch pack to be too proud of the basket. So yeah, I think we're making progress, but I'll just go through them, find any particularly high ones. I think there's enough meat on there to take a bit more off, and then hopefully we should be able to get these nuts to their correct position, and yeah, and hopefully not so much of a fight to get them on under the spring tension, because I think the trouble is it's caused issues with rounding the threads off at the end, and people have been pushing and twisting to try and get them to go on. So I think a die passed down these just to clear them up a bit. So they should be, well actually I will check these. It looks like these are made, it looks like somebody's made these, and I will check the dimensions, because this nose is hitting the bottom of the thread of these studs before it's clearing this hole at the end. So I'll have a look at the drawings in the parts manuals and that, see if I can get more of an idea of where it should be sitting, and I'll have a rummage through the old spares that I've got, see if I can find an original one of these and see what the dimensions are. They might have just made them a little bit too long in a certain dimension, whether it's the head of the nut or the nose of it. We shall see. So we've got the outer pressure plate for the clutch, and as I said, these holes need attention. If you look there, you can sort of see, if I pop that there, you can see what sort of shape they are. Look, that one you can see is particularly bad, sort of all over the shop. Yeah, and they're all like that. And yeah, if you don't do anything about it now, it's just going to get worse. It's going to be sort of clunking every time the clutch takes up. So it looks like it's a cast steel plate. It's pretty flat. So what I'm going to do is preheat it, put it in my little brazing hearth, preheat it up to get it nice and warm, and then MIG weld these holes up a bit, just build them up, and then pop it in the mill and remachine those holes, and then sort of drop an end mill down if I need to, just to sort of clean the spring faces up. And then we'll check, hopefully it's still flat, because the sort of welding's going on this hub rather than the plate, so hopefully all the distortion will be here rather than here. But what I will do, because this is quite rough, where it's, you know, been left standing at different times over the years, it's all sort of pitted and quite a rough surface. So once the welding's done, I've cleaned all this up, I will pop it in the lathe and attempt to clean the face up on this and true it all back up again. So let's get on with it. Right, we've got it warm. I did run it all round, but we're getting a bit blue spot over there, so we'll just keep it warm. So I've been running a blowtorch around to keep it even, but we're getting a bit hot over there, and I don't want to put any more heat into it. So that'll do. We'll keep it warm until I get the welder sorted out. Gonna put it on a bit of MDF, might catch fire, but just to stop it from chilling down too much. Oh, blimey, need to turn the power down, it just blows away. Do. Let's move it before it catches fire. Pop it under here. Go and have a cup of tea, let it cool down. Right, to calm you down a bit after all that machining, getting you overstimulated and all that before your bedtime, I thought we'd have a sort of a little calming segue in the middle for this sort of working on the scope. Well, the next video's up through this season. What sort of season? The growing season. So like Jeremy Clarkson has his farm, so we're going to have Tweed's onion patch. So here we go. This is how it starts. So there you go, there's the onions. You'll be able to check in with progress as they're growing throughout the season, depending on the weather, pestilence, disease, and all the other things that sort of affect gardeners and farmers. Yeah, so, but moving on, back to the engineering and stuff on the clutch. Okay, so it's cooled down, and we seem to have achieved straightness. Doesn't seem to be any distortion on there. All looks pretty good. So yeah, all good. We managed to fill all the holes. I went and filled them completely in the end. Just makes machining and drilling a whole lot easier if you're going through solid metal rather than sort of a half opened hole. So need to stick this on the mill and work out. I'm going to clean it up and now I'm going to drill it. So over to the mill. So after welding the location holes up in the clutch thrust plate, I needed to clean them up and re-drill them. So the first thing I done, popped an end mill in and just by eye went around each weld and then gradually milled them down as close as I dare to the bottom face. Yeah, I did try bigger end mill first, but it did catch once and just rubbed the side a bit of the hole, so we changed to a slightly smaller one so we had a bit more leeway if it did move. But I think it was just basically I forgot to clamp it down tightly. So yeah, always check before machining that you've definitely tightened it down. And yeah, tap your end mill with a spanner for good luck. Not. Okay, and then what I've done was turned up this plug, and it's 1/2 inch at one end, and can't remember what it was, about 18 millimeters, just over, which is the size of these rebated holes, and that fits in really snugly. So I use that to locate this hole and this hole on the x-axis so that I knew it was in line, and then on my digital readout I could go to the drilling holes in a circle program, and with the digital readout worked out what the distance was between this hole and this hole, and then centered it so I knew where the center was, and then input my measurement diameter for the holes into the program, programmed in 6 holes. And what I found was, yeah, it was fine on this one, fine on this one, but when you got up to these two, they were a touch out. How much were they out? I was writing it down. Yeah, sort of 0.5 of a millimetre one way, 0.1 another. Yeah, and then, yeah, and it sort of varied down here and here as well. So these were all out. So I suspect when it was manufactured, they weren't all spot on. So the next thing I done was went and measured the studs on the clutch basket, the distances, and worked out distance apart and the diameter I needed to drill the holes, and it was slightly smaller, not by a lot, about 0.5 millimetre, but it made all the difference. Well, it would do, yeah, 0.5. So I input that diameter in that I measured on the clutch basket, and then done a trial drilling, a piece of scrap alley. And yes, this highlighted hole was the first set of holes, 6 holes that I drilled at that diameter, and then went and tried it, and yeah, it wouldn't go on very well. It was a tight fit on the studs, and you could see that it wasn't lining up with the studs. The studs were sort of pushing over to one side of the holes. So measured the distance on the studs, worked that out, then inputted that into the program, re-drilled the holes, and tried it again, and it fitted a lot better, a little bit tight. So I think I drilled them 8mm first, and I went to 8.1, and they would go over, and then you could see that the I mean, it's to be expected, but the actual studs weren't perfectly in line, or perfectly in the same position they should be. They're all sort of off a bit slightly. So just went up on the drill size. I think we've gone to 8.3 millimeters. So I did try this with the 8.2 once I drilled it, got the correct spacers and drilled it, and it goes on nicely, but it's a bit, yeah, it does rub on the studs if you move it slightly, which you don't want, because it won't always come up perfectly straight. Sometimes it might kick over one way. So you want a little bit of give in these holes to give you a little bit of clearance around those studs, but not the sort of clearance it had before. So with those holes drilled and enlarged, it fits on there quite nicely. So I thought I'd just go back in with the end mill, running the whole program again, so it'll be spot on these centers, and just cleaning up these the bottoms of these holes a little bit, and there's a little bit of weld on the side there, and because if these holes are slightly further in than the original machining, so it might take a bit of this face out here, but it'll allow the spring to sit parallel to the stud. I mean, we don't know whether this is the original plate or whether it's a clutch made out of bits and bobs, so who knows. But anyway, this should make it better. So we'll sort of do this, and then that can go back on the bike once I've sort of cleaned up the friction face on the other side. So let's go on and do that. So there you go, managed to face off the pressure plate. Picked up a little bit of vibration when I was cutting, and I started slowing down. It got worse, and then in the end, in a panic, I sort of just sped up and it quietened back down again. So yeah, got that bit of sort of a skidding mark there, but I've emery clothed it down so it's all flat and it's miles better than it was before with all those lumps and bumps where the rust had eaten into it. So yeah, good job done. But as you can tell, it rings quite well, so it doesn't take a lot to make that start singing when you're cutting. And how we held it in there, it's a bit of a puzzle, but in the end, 3-jaw chuck, bit of one of my clamping studs. Oh, yeah, we've done it up tight now. Let's lock the headstock. That aluminium packer that I used for, what did I use it for? Turn that up for something. Oh, I can't remember. It'll come back to me. Anyway, there's that. And then, so we had the machine surfaces, these three, resting on the 3 jaws. And then the stud going through. And actually, when I clocked the face up with those resting on the back, it was pretty good actually. Not too bad at all. So, so that'll do, yeah. And then what we've done is we put the flanged nut at the back of the chuck and gripped it on the flats, and then this shoulder stops it being pulled through when you tighten the nut up on the outside edge. Yeah, and that worked a treat. Always a puzzle, clamping jobs. So yeah, that's ready to go back on the bike. There we go. I think I might need to lift the gearbox up. Yeah, hang on, I'll come back to you. Righty ho. Slides on there very nicely now, and even when it's sort of slightly tilted at an angle, which is when it would bind up. So yeah, unfortunately it's difficult to do holding the camera, but if you push it on, if you hold it squarely, it moves in there, and it's just got a little bit of knock. So there's a little bit of clearance there, but nowhere near what there was before. So mission accomplished. So there you go, progress made. Didn't manage to get the clutch fully apart. Couldn't get the rear back plate off because we need a 9/16 Whitworth deep socket or box spanner, something like that, to get that nut off, to get the back of the clutch plate off. Yeah, leave it with me. I'll try and sort of pick up a Whitworth box spanner or something. I might have to make something. I haven't even got a socket I can chop the top off and weld a tube onto. But anyway, that's my problem. That's not your problem. Sure, you got your own problems. Yeah, some of you have. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video. Give us a little like if you did. Subscribe, as I said before. And we'll see you on the next one. All right, cheerio. How's that powder going? Yeah, stinging. Yeah, it does smart a bit, Jenkins. Snappy. Not snappy. Clutchy things like, I can't even remember the ones I remembered. Papa's got a brand new, clutch wall's all very good. What were the ones I thought of? No. Props. Put me props somewhere. Because we've been working on the clutch. I mean, you know, we'll be competing with it. Blah, 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 blah.